Good evening, everyone. And I know you've been waiting, but somehow there has been a. I took about 3 hours to reach the center. I couldn't even go home after the test got over. So here I am in front of you with the Snap 24 Day 3 analysis. Just give me 1 second. Okay, just give me a quick check. I'm audible properly, and my screen is visible. Just give me a yes quickly. Am I audible? भाई चैट में कुछ और डिस्कशन चल रहा है हाँ तो बोल दो हाँ ठीक है ओके ग्रेट फाइन सो let me begin. Snap analysis day 3, more or less, Snap was as it was expected to be, right? So, not very difficult, definitely. But again, I felt that Quant wasn't easy. It was not an easy grab. Okay. However, verbal, on the other hand, you could say it was a easy to moderate or moderate level verbal. We will go there. We will go there. So we'll talk about some questions as well, right? So let's quickly look at this. Okay. So what does this structure say? There were 3 questions of vocabulary. There were 10 questions of grammar, and there were 2 fill in the blanks. Roughly, this is how it was. There we as expected, there was closest test also. You know what closest test is. I hope. If you don't, let me tell you. So when there are 4 to 5 blanks, and there are each of them has to be right to get the answer right, right? So each of the blanks has to be right is where we are. So basically, that is called closest test. It's a multiple fill in the blanks, right? So that was there. um how was the test? So let me quickly take you through the paper also. So एक तो था the synonyms वाले. There were 2 3 questions, right? 2 questions if I remember right. So there was an enrage, infuriate, nettle, and invoke, right? So we at least know that enrage means to to push someone to get angry, right? That is what enrage means. So does infuriate. So we know this. Invoke also means to prompt something to happen, but it is not about getting someone angry or furious, right? So that was an easy one. If you were going by elimination and selection, even if you did not know the word nettle, for example, it is still all right. You could still have gotten through this question, right? Then we have questions like odd one out, right? There was an odd one out based on suffixes. Very interestingly, it was based on suffixes. So alive, abusive, additive, and active. And you were supposed to find. I clearly बोला था कि suffix के base पे ढूंढना है. So even if you don't know the meaning, no, it is still very much doable. For example, alive, abusive, right? Ab is a positive thing. Add is a positive thing. So we know that there's a thread, right? Ab and add, which is a positive suffix, and that is what you were supposed to decide on the basis of. So anyway, before I think I got into the questions a little early on. So let's quickly discuss the pattern, how it was. So the verbal was largely easy to audit in my suggestion. Maybe some of you might have found, if you've not practiced a lot of things in terms of grammar, if you've not done any vocab, then you will find this test difficult. Otherwise, it was not a difficult test, right? Okay. As far as analytical reasoning, AR and LR is concerned, it was again as expected. You had some statement and course of action. You had statement and assumption based question. One assumption based question was there were 4 or 5 statements, 4 or 5 assumptions rather, right? So that was a long one. It was a long one, but it was an easy one. So in my opinion, the first look, I decided that there are 4 assumptions. I'm not going to read this. Then I just happened to read the first one and I felt that okay, this is a very doable one. So I read the rest of them and I got the answer very easily. So it was a little lengthy in that sense, but it was as easy. So they balanced it out. Wherever there was a lengthy question, I felt that it was made easy. And that's not just in verbal, that's also in DILR, and to some extent quant may. For example, quant may ka DI question, right? It was a very straight on question, right? The question was given that there were the average of two bars in the bar graph, right, was coming out to 60, if I remember right, 50 or 60, 50 it was, I guess. And which other 2 years have the same average? And the next two, 23, 24, had was very easily visible. It was, I think, 40 and 60, aisa kuch tha. And clearly the average is 50 and it's the same average. So it was a very, very easy one. So it felt like I'll have to spend it too much time, but it was, I did not have to, right? So do you guys agree, right? Okay. So going forward, AR and LR largely was easy to moderate again, right? A good mix. Number of doable questions in quant would be 10 to 11. I have done 15, right? AR was about 21, 22. I have done 20, right? 20 or 21 if I remember right. But 21, 22 questions were doable, right? I was also interested in knowing the questions, sort of making mental notes and trying to remember questions so that I can bring back to you. So I couldn't attempt as many as I would have wanted to, right? And okay, so again, like in any snap exam, what happens is your when you spend good time in an easy verbal and LR section, you end up spending so much time that quant के लिए time नहीं बच जाता. So for someone who was strong at quant, had to go fast with verbal. If you couldn't do it and if you got stuck in spending time on verbal and LR, you would have missed out on quant questions, and that happened to me. So I have sort of partial strength in all the three subjects equally, right? So I got so engrossed in doing English and ARLR that I could do only 8 questions in quant, and that was a strategic mistake. It was a mistake in the strategy and implementation of the strategy, right? But otherwise, there were. Then when I realized that I was doing this, I stopped solving the questions, and then I started looking at the questions, and I realized that 16 to 17 questions were doable. Okay, so this was my story there. 10 questions of arithmetic. So those 10 may say 8, 9 was very easily doable, right? Numbers के दो question again not difficult. Trigonometry का एक question था sin cos वाला, so that could have easily been avoided. एक question छोड़ने में we shouldn't feel bad. And if some of you feel that sir ये course का part है, syllabus का part है, well the syllabus is never defined, right? And that was one question was supposed to be a surprise for you in that sense. So trigonometry you could have left. Algebra के there was only 2 questions, modern math के 2 questions, geometry का 1 question, and DI ka 1 question and 1 puzzles based question, right? Okay, so let's now get into uh, the sections. Okay, so let's get on to the question. Let me also open the questions that I have noted down in my car while I was coming back, whatever I remembered. So let me look at them and talk to you. So for example, I only talked about 2 questions, which is one was a synonym based question and one was an odd one out based question, right? Then there was another thing, that is parliament, एक grammar का question था. Parliamentary constituency comprises of constitutes of. So कहाँ पे off आएगा, कहाँ नहीं आएगा, so that so it was a more of a preposition usage question, or rather what we call phrasal verbs, right? कौन से verb के साथ what a preposition goes or does not go, right? That understanding of grammar was required. Was not very technical, but phrasal verbs in terms of usage you should have an idea about. uh, Another one was about no one knows that I've kept the cake beside the fruits. Besides, I will lock. So that was a use of beside and besides grammatically, right? So there were 4 options: beside, besides, 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 beside, and so on. So the answer, in my opinion, what my opinion is, the answer is beside and besides. That is how it should be. Then another question was about conjunction. So here you have to spot the conjunction, right? While the exercises are good for health, too much exercise is detrimental. If I remember, that was a sentence. So यहाँ पे ध्यान से देखो तो to, while, much and good sort of a thing was given. So of course while is the conjunction. So anyone who knows conjunctions, grammar याद है थोड़ा सा 6-7 standard, knows that while is the only conjunction in this sentence. Okay. Then there was one interesting one about, interesting in the sense itna easy that you could get in seconds. Okay, there was one question about pick up the statement where there is a past continuous tense. Past continuous tense, past and continuous में ing होना चाहिए, and past continuous तो had been doing, had been walking, that kind of a thing should be there. I was supposed to look for ing and had. If I found that, that is my past continuous tense answer. And there was only one, so it was just, I did not even have to read the sentences there. I just had to look for the ing first, and wherever I find the ing, I was supposed to look for had, and that would have solved it for me, right? Okay. Then there was one about which one of the following scenario best fits an idiom. The idiom was beating around the bush. Now this, I again felt it was a usage of the idiom, beating around the bush, and that usage was very simple in that sense, right? So there was something like farmer reaping mixed crop around the main crop, right? And then there was दूसरा क्या था, police looking for dagger used in the murder, right? A student giving roundabout answer. Now, roundabout answer instead of a precise reply, right? That's exactly what beating around the bush means. कि तुम main बात को छोड़ के गोल गोल घूम रहे हो, right? So that was a very direct answer. So can you see that I'm spotting the easy questions here, and there were easily good number of questions which could have done. So another one was about modal, right? So modal verbs, right? So this was about if you, the meaning was if you need any help, call me immediately, something of that sort. So उसको modals में use कैसे करेंगे? Should you need any help? So the answer was not shall or should or must or will. It was should you need any help, do call me immediately. So that is the answer, right? So these are the interesting one. Once एक tortoise वाला था, right, where three sentences were given, and uh, sorry, three parts of one sentence were given, and which part A, B, or C had a do you think are right? I think that was what it was about, right? No, which one of them indicate errors? Which one of them were wrong? So that is what was discussed. Right. Another grammar का एक easy question was, मतलब ठीक है, this could be, I find it easy. Maybe some of you might not have found it easy. वो वाला as good as वाला. Her suggestion is as good as, if not better than, the one made by Ramesh. Right. So there you have to know that as good as is one phrase. You cannot say as good. It is as good as. Okay. So that was the first sort of hint there. दूसरा, there's a comparison, so there should be a than. एक sentence में it was a the and then, which is not the correct answer. The and than होना चाहिए था. That was the second one. दूसरा एक था, when you compare, her suggestion was as good as his, Ramesh's, right? So I can't say that her suggestion was as good as Ramesh. You cannot compare suggestion with Ramesh. You have to compare the suggestion given by her to suggestion given by Ramesh. So the one made by Ramesh, that was the third hint. ये तीन अगर सही हो जाता आपका, तो that would have been there, right? Then there was what was there? बहुत सारा कुछ था यार. एक वो इसमें भी एक लॉजिक का क्वेश्चन था. So there was a question called प्रहर, प्रहरी, प्रहराई and praharam, right? So it was a coding based question basically. So prahar means play, prahari with an I means playing, prahari with an Y means played. So basically what they did was, उन्होंने the verb, the tenses for a verb, they had given a code for it. So, and then they said which one of the following. So gardeni, Gardeni. So I was for ing. That was a code for the continuous tense. So you were supposed to pick for walking. You were supposed to pick gardeni. That was the answer, right? So very interesting. Then there was a nice question. Must have been a little. This was a little difficult because it was confusing for a lot of you, I'm sure. For example, it talked about unless and until. So there were many uses. in the first part of the sentence, in the first clause, there was an until or unless used, and the second one is a till, until, and unless used, and you have to find the right one, right? So that was another question which was not an easy one in my opinion. Acha, another synonym based question, odd one out wala synonym, was retort, cleave, cut, carve. Now, cut and carve has something to do with cutting, right? Cleave also is about cutting, right? So retort is the one which was the wrong one in my opinion. Okay. So a lot of such questions. I don't know if I'm missing any. Let me see my notes that I've made in case I'm missing some. हाँ एक one more coding based question was there. The Nilo Barn and Mari Boom में ऐसा कुछ अलग अलग codes दिए हुए थे. Yellow sky we had to find, right? So again that was an easy one because if you find yellow or yellow कहाँ पे है and you look for the common ones and you can work out yellow and then you can work out sky. So yellow sky. If I remember right, it was Mariban or Marban or something like that. So that was the right answer in my opinion. Another coding based question which was there. Wait, sorry, I've already entered LR. मैं notes में लिखा नहीं था कि verbal कहाँ खत्म हुआ. So yeah, this was a part of the LR questions, right? So let me see if I missed out anything in verbal specifically. There was, as expected, in the previous slots of Snap also, there were these questions about hyperbole, metaphor, epistrophe, oxymoron, and so on and so forth. So वो ढूंढना था. ये भी अगर आपको कुछ words नहीं भी पता है ना, तो you could still boil down to two options. For example, if you know metaphor क्या होता है, it is a comparison. Hyperbole is exaggeration, right? Oxymoron is something which contradicts itself. It's a paradox of sort. ये तीन भी पता है ना, तो आप तीन तो एलिमिनेट कर दोगे. जो दो बचा 2 and 4, two statements were remaining, right? There were two options exactly, so you had to. So what I did was I did not waste my time because I did not know one word. What I did was I eliminated two options, and the remaining two options I took a call and I moved on because that's a 50% uh, probability for me. So I played on the probability there, right? So that is what I did. Okay. Smile and simile ऐसा था क्या? I don't remember whether if simile was smile वाला spelling use किया था. Not too sure, Aman. I don't remember that. Okay. Someone is saying, can you write the answers? Buddy, I can't write all the answers वरना ये session 3 घंटे में चला जाएगा, right? Because फिर AR और quant भी करना है हमें. We are not just talking about verbal here, right? Okay. So let's move on. We've already entered the arena of AR. So before we move to AR, let's quickly talk about this. So two fill in the blanks, 3 vocabulary, 10 grammar questions. It was a grammar heavy paper. A lot of logic to solve vocabulary also was there. So it was not a very vocab heavy paper. I believe it was very easy in terms of using your logic to work out the vocab, right? That could have helped you. So overall, 10 to 11 questions were definitely doable. As I told you, I've done 15, and I'm pretty sure one or two I've taken educated guesses like the one I said. Baki, at 13, I'm damn sure. So that is the way it is. Now, as far as AR/LR is concerned, again, AR/LR was more or less as expected, right? There was statement assumption questions. यहाँ पे एक लिखा है, remember there were two. There were two assumption based questions. एक में वो 4 assumptions थे और एक में only 2 assumptions were there. There were 2 questions of assumptions. So let me correct this here, right? There was one statement conclusion question. There was a statement implicit wala tha, and there was critical passage based critical reasoning question. So I did not do it. I did not even read it. The reason being I thought it will waste my time, so I did not even go for it. Okay, so that's how it was. But the other mentors who have taken this test and I've talked to them say that it was a moderate level question. Rest of them were all easy. As I told you, assumption mein wo 4 sentence wala look big, but it was very easy. So I sort of did it in a couple of seconds, right? So that is how it was. Coming to further AR/LR में, coming towards from critical reasoning and verbal reasoning to let's come to the AR/LR section. Coding के base पे 3 questions थे. 2 I've already discussed. Marboom and वो वाला, right? So that I've discussed. 4 blood relation questions, and these were not simple blood relation questions. So blood relation plus profession. ऐसे दो questions थे जहाँ पे it was two questions were simple blood relation questions and two were with their profession or something of that sort, right? Two married couples and this and that. So that kind of a thing was there. So hence the two were easy and two were moderate. That makes the blood relation question easy to moderate. Coding moderate to difficult लिखा है, but I feel it was easy to moderate personally. Now this moderate to difficult is written on the basis of all the 3 4 of us who discussed the paper right after taking it. So but I personally feel it's easy to moderate. I discussed two questions, right? Of ARLR. Which were they? One was, give me one sec. One was about the Marbroom and all. The second one was about Prahar and all. Prahar and Prahari, wo wala. There was a third one, which was A, B, and a number. Now, I'm not sure. I've not discussed this question with my colleagues, but and it's too early to say. But I feel that this question may be wrong. Maybe. Okay, I'll solve it again and let you know. The reason is, in my options, my answer was coming out to be IF at the rate sign, whereas that was not given as an option. So anyone here who has an idea about this can please throw some light in the chat. Okay, I think it is IF at the rate, but the given thing was ID at the rate and IF hash. So I think there is some garbad. I will look into this and we'll get back. Okay, so maybe in the chat later on I will add this after I solve it again. Okay, so I'm assuming that that one question is wrong, but I will have to check. So I'm not making a confirmed statement here. Okay. Okay, then there were a couple of okay. Let me quickly see my other screen. Calendar based questions. There were two calendar based questions. One of them was so easy. 4th February is on a Saturday or something, and what would be 8th March? Right? It was a very easy calculation, right? It was a couple of seconds ka question. I think 5 seconds, 10 seconds at max would have gotten you the answer. 20 seconds you would have moved out of the question. So it was not worth missing out. So there were two calendar questions. One of them was this. There were 3 number series alphanumeric letter symbol based questions also, right? So yeah, that was there. And binary 3 person 3 statement wala jo arrangement wala sorry puzzles wala question hai. So those kind of questions were there. They were difficult, or rather they were not difficult, they could have been solved, but in the given time they were difficult. So in that sense, yes, they were a little bit difficult. In fact, I did not do one or two of them just because of the time constraint. And please remember, snap is not about solving. If cat is about selection, snap is double of that. It is twice the selection that needs to be done, because 60 minutes. So I have to pick easy among the easy questions. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? And that's how I maximize. Okay, so that's that. And where am I? Okay, there's one more. Okay, well, there's one more this thing here. Decision making. There were two questions on decision making, two questions on clocks. Two questions on clocks. One was about the angle. I did not do it because it was time consuming. But the other one was very simple. You put, I think it was 520, 540. 540, if you look in the mirror, what will it look like? So guys, write in the chat what was the answer to the clock question that you got. Quickly. What was the clock question ka answer that you got? And then I'll also share. 540 ka? Correct. 620. Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. So 6, 10, 20 it was. So clocks was, one was easy, one was moderate in my opinion, because the other one needed some kind of a logic calculation to be done. But one was so simple. Decision making was moderate. Course of action questions, यहाँ पे moderate लिखा है, but I found them, one was easy, one was moderate. So it's easy to moderate. The reason I'm saying this is because one of them I could just see the question and decide that this is a course of action, this is not. But the other one I had to think, the one which had 3 course of actions, I had to think a little bit. So it was not difficult, or it was not at all difficult, but it took me some time to work it out. Reading and working both took some time. So it was not a 5 second, 10 second attempt in that sense. There were two questions of syllogisms. Both of them were easy. One of them was very easy. वो all वाला जो question था. But the mistake people would have made in that, all rackets are something, all something are क्या था यार? Let me remember. Let me see my notes. Does anyone remember this? Does anyone remember? Just put it on the chat. क्या था? Okay, no one's responding. So let's go ahead. So rackets वाला जो था वो all था. What I realized is my first option was correct. So I marked it and I went ahead. Then next question में जाके मेरे को लगा कि इतना simple नहीं हो सकता. I went back to check and then it was a negative question. Which of the following is not possible? So basically there were three options which were matching my answer, and I did not even think about it because my first answer I marked and I moved on. Right. So good, I went back and I got that answer correct. A lot of you might have missed which one is the wrong one. So that one syllogisms of was of that sort. The other syllogisms was a little moderate level question with the muslin and the silk and cotton wala question. Right. So that took some time, but it was not a difficult one for sure. Okay, so all those of you who've worked hard on syllogisms, this would have paid off for sure. Okay, syllogism is not worth missing. So, okay, before I go to quant, okay, let me look at some questions worth discussing. Just give me 1 second. एक वो था, three friends, Arjun, Robin, maths, English, so वो वाला. Again, मैंने पढ़ के छोड़े हैं क्वेश्चन. The reason being, this thing would take time for me, right? Blood relations वाले मैंने नहीं छोड़े हैं because I know that I can make a graph and just work out. So puzzles वालों पे मैंने I did not waste my time. There was another one with senior HR, right? वो professors वाला, right? So there was one of that, right? So these kind of questions were there. अच्छा, एक beautiful coding वाला question था. Quickly tell me what is the answer that you wrote. The coding wala question where there was a circle, then there was a pentagon, then there was a circle, then there was a diamond, then a circle, then a rectangle, then a circle, then a triangle, and then the dash. So can everyone tell me what they have written before I divulge? Okay, Marmik skipped it. Jaldi se. Hello is right. So granddaughter, grandparent is correct. Dono answers, both blood relation question, one was grandparent and one was granddaughter. That's correct. Okay, so I am Indian engineer says O was the answer, right? Even Dhruv is saying that circle tha. Abhishek is saying that correct. It was one circle skipping, one kind of a circle skipped with another shape, and those shape was repeating. For example, square, square, or whatever, triangle, triangle. But in between them, there were circles. So yes, that is correct. Good, very nice. Okay, sorry. Let me open the notes again. And so that was one question, and that's that. Okay, so let's move on to quant now. So let's go to quant. So quant में, as I told you already, DI question एक था, and that was a very easy one. In fact, देख के again it was a 20-second question. देख के समझ में आ जाएगा. Just वो देखने में time जाएगा, उतना ही है, पढ़ने में time जाएगा. That is the only time it took, right? The grid वाला puzzle, right? That was a moderate to difficult one. That would have wasted your time. In fact, I did not hence get into it. Okay, so I skipped it. Now I will sit and solve the answer. But in case anyone has got the answer to the grid wala question or puzzle wala, क्या था? मुझे याद भी नहीं है. 9, 3, 4, 6, something of that sort. There was a grid. Modern math में there was one PNC wala question, not a difficult one, and one set theory wala question, again not a difficult one. Right, functions wala, set theory wala. So algebra inequality का एक क्वेश्चन था, मोड का एक क्वेश्चन था, inequality slash mode, एक एजेस वाला क्वेश्चन था, which was a good one. the guy who's doing MBA, and he finishes his MBA, graduates in a certain year, and then he becomes a father in a certain year. The average of the MBA is 245, and the average of the uh, uh, 1 year after he becomes a father is also 245, something of that sort, and his wife is 2 years younger to him. So that was a good question. Should have done, right? So that was one. Geometry and mensuration based, there was one question only. I right now don't I'm not able to recall which one was that. Ratio proportion, one question of ratio proportion, one question of circular race. Circular race was also logic based question. ये सारे जुगाड़ से हो जाते थे, right? So circular race, what was circular race का answer, everybody? Quickly, quick. I think he started at 7 and they met at 7:30, and the faster guy finished at 7:50, right? That is what we were supposed to do. So what is the slower guy is, when does he complete? What is the answer? Was it 8:15 or 8:30? मुझे याद नहीं है अभी. But it was either 8:15 or 8:30, है ना? Cool. So great. Then there was a partnership वाला question. Trigonometry वाला एक question था जो छोड़ना ही चाहिए था, moderate था वैसे. So someone who remembers trigonometry from his 11th, 12th or engineering, right, will be able to do this. But it was a well left. Time and work के दो questions है. One of them was doable, one of them was difficult. So moderate to difficult level के थे वो, easy नहीं थे. SICI के two questions were absolutely doable. Profit and loss के तीन questions were absolutely doable. So this part of arithmetic you should have done. These 5 questions were absolutely doable, right? Number series का एक question था, which was also good. मुझे अभी याद नहीं आ रहा है कौन सा. Number series का question was, हाँ, 100.00, and that is a reducing number series. I think that is the one we are talking about here. So usme, I think again I did not do any calculations. I just looked at the trend. It was a decreasing trend, and the difference was also decreasing in a certain way, right? So there was only one option which was possible. I think it was 34 point something is what I have marked, because I did not even take effort of solving it. मैंने बोला लॉजिक से हो रहा है तो कर दो and move on. Right? So that was yes, एक book stack वाला भी question था, but I did not do that. Okay, so I cannot comment on it. Right? Okay. Number system का LCM based एक question था, so that was also an easy one. So all in all, Quant was again easy to moderate as expected. The funny part was, I repeat this for the people who came in late, those students who are good at Quant and wasted the time in the first two sections to reach Quant might have not maximized. Those who are good at verbal, good at LR, it was still a safe game. But people who were good at Quant should have moved faster towards Quant to give some time to that section. Okay, so I think that is how you should have strategized, right? And yeah, now coming to the last part of my session, right? Overall structure comparison अगर हम करें, right? 3 versus 2 versus 1, right? So let's look at that. So grammar on day 1, English की बात करते हैं पहले, verbal की. So grammar was 5 questions on day 1, 9 questions on day 2, and 10 questions on day 3. So basically the questions have increased. So even for the next time, people who are watching this for 2025 later on in a later date, right? Please don't assume that the pattern will remain the same. That's one. Secondly, Snap, you already know that it is going to consider the best of the 3 scores, and there's going to be no normalization or anything of that sort. So whichever one you perform best is the way, right? Which means it gives you a good chance. Since all the 3 slots were different, right? You could have taken 3 slots and played on your strength. You could have done that, right? So that is a possibility. Parajumble and sentence completion, 300 likha hai, but I remember there was one sentence completion question in the third slot, third day 3 ka second slot, right? याद नहीं आ रहा है अभी. But yeah, so parajumble and sentence completion in the first one was 3, and that is reduced, right? Fill in the blanks were not there in the first 2 days, but in this day there were 2 fill in the blanks, and one of them was a closed test, right? So that was how it was. So vocabulary again has reduced from 7 to 3. So vocab and grammar become very important for Snap. Whichever day you're taking, you don't know what will come as a heavier weightage. right? So coming to Quant DI and DS, arithmetic was 7 on the day one. So a lot of you who had cracked CAT on the basis of arithmetic would have benefited on the day 2 and day 3 more than day 1, right? Algebra was not there on day 2 at all, right? Geometry was not there on day 2 at all. However, if you look at modern math, that was high on day 2. Number system was high on day 1 and day 2. डे 3 में कम था. ट्रिग्नोमेट्री के क्वेश्चन इस बार आए ही हैं, राइट? यू कुड डू दैट और यू शुडंट. एक दो क्वेश्चन के लिए यू शुडंट टेक अप सच अ बिग टॉपिक फॉर योरसेल्फ. एंड डीआई पजल इज वन और टू क्वेश्चंस, राइट? सो डीआई एंड पजल मिला के, so that is how it is. Coming to AR LR comparison of the 3 days, CR based questions were high on the day 1 and very low on the day 3, right? Decision making questions were more or less 1 or 2, exception of day 2, right? Statement assumption, cause effect, I don't look at this in itself. So statement assumption, cause effect, course of action, सब कुछ मिला के, and critical reasoning, I look at that as verbal reasoning, right? That more or less remained the same, right? So that is how it is. Analogy based questions were not there in the third day, which were there in the first two, right? Syllogisms has been a consistent one in Snap over years now. So syllogism is something that you should do because it's a short answer, because they give an easy syllogisms question. Syllogisms का question कभी मैंने moderate level के ऊपर देखा ही नहीं Snap में, as far as I remember. Blood relation questions are also something that you should do to crack Snap, right? And blood relations are generally easy. Again, clocks and calendars also has been a consistent 3, 3, 4 questions there. Series based questions have also already been there, so also been there. Symbol based, alphanumeric based, as well as number based. So all three of them. Row arrangement question wasn't there, so arrangement based question wasn't there in today's paper at all. Direction sense question wasn't there, but it was there on day 1. So coding was there. Coding was heavy on this one, and it was easy. Again, it made the paper very doable because of that, right? And binary logic questions were there. They were not there on day 1, but they were there in day 2 and day 3. And finally, miscellaneous questions. So yeah, okay. Now let's quickly. Now we are doing a conclusion session, right? This is not just a sort of 3 analysis. This is a sort of conclusion session comparing all the 3. Yes, Prince, it was besides, and profit on CP was 100%. That is correct, right? ये भी correct है. Besides was the answer, right? So okay, let's now get into the expectations. So net correct for a 97 percentile in Snap, right? A typical person who expects a call from SIBM Pune SEMHRD would be somewhere above 97 or around 98 plus, right? It could be either. Generally, last year के हिसाब से जाऊं, if I remember my data right, so SIBM Pune was at 98 percentile approximately, and SEMHRD was 3.3 percentile higher, that is 98.3. Okay, something of that sort. So for 97 percentile, you would need a 43 ka score in Snap 2020. 21 mein that is 40. 22 mein it was slightly difficult, so that would become 34. And Snap 23 mein it would be around 42.5. And about a 44.5 or 44.25 would get you a 98 percentile and an SIBM SEMHRD call ke aaspaas, right? So that is how it was. So yes, guys, just let's look at the percentile cutoffs also. Snap 2019, it was 98.2 and 97.5 for SIBM and SEMHRD respectively. 2018 में, so ये 2018 2017 के डेटा हैं, but मुझे I remember 2022 23 वाला जो डेटा है, that was around 98 and 98.3 or something, right? So it's around that 98 percentile zone. Okay. Snap 22 को देखो यहाँ पे on the right side, you see a long box of Snap 22, right? So 53.75 was a top score, absolute top score, right? 47.25 was 99.99 percentile. If you look at 99 percentile, it was 37. Okay, and a 97 percentile would be around 34.5. This was Snap 22, right? And this time we are higher than, it's an easier test, so Snap 22 se cutoff will go up. Okay, on the right side, absolute right side, the table you see are the cutoffs. So 98 percentile for SIBM, SMHRD, हाँ, I was right. मैं memory से जो बोल रहा था वो correct है. SIIB Pune would be 94 to 96 percentile, right? That would be near about, you could say 40, 41 ka score, right? SIUM Nashik would be 86 to 90 percentile, SITM would be 83 percentile, and so on, right? You could check this in your B school advisory that's there in the student my zone for all the students, and even those of you who are not CL students can check it on the website also. So we have a B school advisory where all of these information is mentioned: which colleges, what cutoffs, what exam, what fees, what placement records, and blah blah blah. All of that is given, right? And with that, let's go to the final thing, the final convert this year, right? So snap score out of 60 scaled down to 50 marks would be around 50. So basically 50% weightage would be given to your snap score, 10% to the group exercise. If I remember right, I think GD bhi ho sakta hai. Some years they have done GD also. Most years they do group exercise, but some years they do GD also. Right? So group exercise or group exercise or group exercise. Okay, I think this. Hello. Hello. Okay, just quickly tell me if the echo problem is still there, or is it clearly audible? Buffering ठीक है? Is the audio all right? Okay, resolved. Okay. I don't know what happened, but ठीक है. So I was saying that 10% is group exercise or group discussion, and 40% is personal interaction, that is PI, personal interview. So now you must start preparing for PIs. You should have started preparing for it for CAT. You should start preparing for SNAP also. Students ask me that when should we start preparing, guys. Students, a lot of my mentees have started preparing for PDP, the PI process, right? Yes, ZAD pay focus is still on, but parallel to that, PDP focus should also be there. The reason behind that is very simple, because after ZAD you will only have 2 to 3 weeks left, right? If Symbiosis gives you a call, the calls will come in the first week of. It will start in the first week of February. That will give you 3 to 3.5 weeks to prepare, right? Which is too less. So if you start preparing something now, you will be in a better position then, after that. So these things should go parallel in that sense. So this is the weightage that is there for the merit list, final selections, right? Upcoming products, the quick mention here: test series for MBA 2025. In case someone has started preparing for 2025, because the CAT Snap that did not go well, not that Snap and MAT and CAT did not go well. Or you can take up the test series 2025. Tell your friends about it. PDP has already program has begun. I think we've talked about it. You know about it. Do check it out. Online classes for Snap 24 were on, right? I don't know why. I think we missed this out. And ZAT 24 online classes and test series is also on. So in case you need some help, do let us know. Get in touch. I wish you all the best for your upcoming exams, specifically ZAT, but there's a CET, CMAT, MyCat, other things like GMT, all of them coming up. So you still have a chance. Don't lose hope in case your exams have gone bad. I wish you guys all the best again, and have fun. See you.